We are ready to start blocking out the poses. I will demonstrate to you how I go over this process and make two of my poses, which you've already seen at the beginning of this section, as an example. You can follow along with me, and then after we're done, try to create two new poses yourself. Let's turn off the Mesh Selectability option at the top so that we can only select the NURBS curves. Everything else you can leave turned on, since we can't select something that's hidden, and we've hidden all the other types of objects from our viewport in the Show menu, which we didn't need. First, we want to select all the controls and set the key on the first frame so that we would have our character's default T-pose saved. Hit S. Now, you don't want to pose on top of our saved pose in frame 1 because we saved it for a reason. We're going to create several different poses in our timeline, and when creating a new pose, for example a sad one, you don't want to have to start working on it from any other pose which you've already created, let's say the happy pose. You want to have a default neutral pose to which you can return and then copy it to the frame you're working on and start building your new pose from there. Our first pose is where the character is scared. Let's go to the second frame and start making it there. Okay, so as I've mentioned before, we should start with the body control and position it the way we want. We want to bring the weight down and back. Since our character is scared, he needs to be leaning back. So his weight should be focused here. His right foot will be placed a little bit back as well, because in order for him not to fall when his weight is at the back, he needs to compensate for it and create balance. Let's also move the foot a little bit to the side and rotate it. We should rotate this one as well and move it in front of the body and a bit to the right side. So that his feet are positioned approximately at shoulder width. We also want to rotate the body control to the left because he's standing at an angle. The top of his body is leaning back. All right, now we can start working from here in more detail. Because his left foot is the one which is holding most of the body weight, the hips should be rotated that way to indicate it. Let's rotate the hips up and a little bit to the left side. One of the most important things when creating a pose is the term contrapposto, which refers to asymmetry of the hips and shoulders. So now, since we have positioned the hips, we can rotate the torso, and we should do that to the opposite side in all the rotation axes than the hips. If we rotated the hips this way to the left, our torso should be rotated to the right. The hips were lifted up a bit, so the torso should be bent down. The main direction of the hips goes up to the upper left corner, so the torso should be going down to the bottom left corner. That way, we create a stretch on one side of the body, which is this side, and compression on the opposite side of the body, which makes your pose more believable and more dynamic. That is also one of the quickest ways to make your pose readable. Now we can pose the head. We forgot to lift the foot. All right, and don't forget the knee. Since the foot is rotated, the knee should be facing the same direction. You can look from the top and check whether the leg's direction is similar to the foot's. Perhaps we should move it a little bit further. Now let's look at the other knee, and we already see that if we extend the leg, its direction is going that way, but the foot is going this way. So we need to bring the knee a little bit in. Now we can begin positioning the arms, and we should start with the shoulder. Then we can position the elbow and give the arm a shape that we want. Let's say this shape. Then we can go back to the shoulder and continue positioning the arm. Okay, now the other arm. Same process. Also, when posing the arms, try not to make them identical, which is called twinning in animation. Hands that are posed identical wouldn't seem realistic, which could happen when working with a computer where you can copy and paste the same values and speed up your work that way, but the results would look too mechanical and not organic. The same rule also applies to the feet or anything that comes in pairs. I feel that we still need a little bit more weight. His hips are rotated a bit too extremely, so we can tone that down a little bit. Let's move the body back even more. So if his weight is positioned on this foot, we want to make sure that the center of his body is somewhere around the heel or the middle of the foot. We can do that by imagining a straight line going through the middle of his body and checking if it really reaches the foot on the left, and that way balances the weight. Okay, I think that's fine. All right, I think we're close. I want to rotate the upper body a little bit more so that it's really leaning back. Okay. And finally, let's not forget the fingers. Select both controls of the fingers by clicking them while holding down Shift, then rotate them. All right, now position the thumb into a more neutral pose. The other hand as well. Hold down Shift, select both controls, and rotate them. As you can see, I'm working fairly quickly and broadly. Don't forget to look at your pose from different angles. I also have a reference image for my pose, but I don't try to copy it into the exact same pose. I try to explore it myself, while keeping in mind the rule about contrapposto. So rotating the hips one way, and then the torso the opposite way, which helps me create a compression on one side and a stretch on the other. All right, let's move on to our next pose.